Naomi Carter thought she was just volunteering at a hospital that Tuesday morning, 20 minutes late, out of breath, apologizing to nurses who barely noticed. But when she heard a child screaming in terror down that sterile hallway, when she knelt beside a traumatized 6-year-old and hummed a lullaby that somehow broke through months of silence, she had no idea she was about to become someone else entirely. A desperate billionaire would beg her to pretend to be his dead wife for just 1 hour. 1 single hour to save his daughter's shattered mind. What Naomi didn't know was that 1 hour would cost her everything: her job, her reputation, her carefully guarded heart. And what neither of them could predict was that their beautiful lie would go viral, trapping them in a web of deception that would either destroy them completely or give them the only thing worth fighting for, a love that was never supposed to exist. Subscribe and comment below if you've ever made a choice that changed your entire life, because this story is about to take you on a journey you won't forget. The fluorescent lights of Memorial Hospital's pediatric wing buzzed overhead as Naomi Carter rushed through the double doors, her worn sneakers squeaking against the polished floor. She was 20 minutes late for her volunteer shift, and her heart pounded with the familiar anxiety of disappointing people who counted on her. Sorry, she called out to the nurse at the station, clutching her tote bag against her chest. The bus broke down on 5th Avenue. The nurse waved her off with a tired smile. Don't worry about it, honey, we've got bigger problems today. That's when Naomi heard it. A child's scream, raw and desperate, echoing down the hallway. The sound pierced straight through her chest, making her freeze mid-step. It was the kind of cry that came from somewhere deeper than pain. It was terror. It was grief. What's going on? Naomi whispered. The nurse's expression darkened. Little girl, in room 304. She's been like that for hours. Won't let anyone touch her. Won't speak. The doctors don't know what else to do. Naomi's feet moved before her mind could catch up. She'd always been like that, drawn to hurt the way some people are drawn to light. Her sister Tasha called it her savior complex, but Naomi knew it was simpler than that. She just couldn't walk past suffering without trying to help. As she approached room 304, she saw a crowd gathered outside the door. Doctors, nurses, all of them looking helpless and exhausted. And in the center of it all stood a man who clearly didn't belong in a hospital hallway. He wore a charcoal suit that probably cost more than Naomi made in 3 months. His dark hair was disheveled, like he'd been running his hands through it for hours. His face was handsome in that sharp, controlled way that spoke of boardrooms and power lunches, but right now it was twisted with raw desperation. "You have to do something," he was saying, his voice hoarse. "She's my daughter. She needs help. Mr. Rhodes, we're doing everything we can," a doctor said gently, "but she won't let us near her. Perhaps if you—" "I've tried," the man's voice cracked. "She won't even look at me. She hasn't looked at me since it happened." Naomi edged closer, trying to see through the doorway. Inside the room, a small figure huddled in the corner beside the hospital bed, knees drawn up to her chest. She couldn't have been more than 6 years old. Her blonde hair hung in tangles around her face, and her whole body shook with sobs that seemed to come from the very bottom of her soul. Something in Naomi's chest squeezed tight. "How long has she been like this?" she heard herself asking. Everyone turned to look at her. The man's eyes, grey like storm clouds, fixed on her face with an intensity that made her want to step back. "Who are you?" he asked, not unkindly. "I'm Naomi. I volunteer here. I work with children." One of the nurses touched her arm. "Naomi, maybe you should—" But Naomi was already moving past them, drawn by an instinct she couldn't name. She knelt just outside the doorway, making herself small and unthreatening. The little girl's screams had quieted to whimpers now, but her eyes were squeezed shut, her tiny hands pressed over her ears. Without thinking, Naomi began to hum. It was an old lullaby her grandmother used to sing. The melody was soft and gentle, like water flowing over stones. She didn't know why she chose that song. She just knew it felt right. The effect was immediate. The little girl's hands slowly lowered from her ears, her eyes opened, bright blue and swimming with tears. For a long moment, she just stared at Naomi, as if trying to understand where the sound was coming from. Naomi kept humming, adding quiet words now. "Hush, little one, don't you cry. Mama's gonna sing you a lullaby." Behind her she heard someone gasp, but she didn't turn around. She kept her eyes on the child, kept her voice steady and warm. The girl's lips trembled. She uncurled slightly, her small body still shaking but no longer rigid with terror. "That's it, sweetheart," Naomi whispered. "You're okay. You're safe." She held out her hand, palm up, not reaching, just offering. An invitation, not a demand. For what felt like an eternity, the little girl didn't move. Then, slowly, so slowly, she stretched out one small hand and placed it in Naomi's. Her skin was cold. Her fingers barely wrapped around Naomi's thumb, but she held on like she was drowning, and Naomi was the only solid thing in the world. "There you go," Naomi murmured, her throat tight with emotion. "I've got you." The girl's next words were so quiet, Naomi almost missed them. "Mommy." Naomi's heart stopped. She opened her mouth to correct her, to explain, but before she could speak, she felt a presence behind her. She turned and found the man, Mr. Rhodes, standing so close she could see the tears streaming down his face. His expression was something she would never forget. Relief, anguish, desperation, hope, all of it mixed together in a way that made him look both strong and completely broken. "Please," he whispered, his voice barely audible. "Please, just pretend to be her mother. Just for 1 hour. That's all I'm asking." Naomi stared at him. What?" "She thinks you're her mother." His hands were shaking. "She hasn't spoken in 3 months. Not since the accident. Not since she watched her mother die." The words hit Naomi like a physical blow. She looked back at the little girl, who was watching her with those enormous blue eyes, still holding onto her hand like a lifeline. "I can't just—" "1 hour," Mr. Rhodes said again. His voice was raw, pleading. "Just sit with her. Hold her. Let her believe, just for a little while, that her mother came back. The doctors said, they said she needs stability. She needs to feel safe before they can even begin to help her." Every rational part of Naomi's brain screamed at her to refuse. This was crazy. This was wrong. You couldn't just pretend to be someone's dead mother. The ethical implications alone were staggering. But then the little girl squeezed her hand tighter. "Mommy, don't go," she whispered. And just like that, Naomi's heart overruled her head. She looked up at Mr. Rhodes, at his desperate, broken expression, and then back at the child who was clinging to her, like she was the only thing keeping her tethered to earth. "Okay," she heard herself say. "Just 1 hour." The hospital room felt smaller once everyone else left. Just Naomi, the little girl, and the steady beep of monitors in the background. Mr. Rhodes had stepped into the hallway with the doctors, though Naomi could feel him watching through the window, like a ghost she couldn't quite see. She helped the girl, Lily she'd learned her name was, climb back into the hospital bed. The child moved like she was afraid of breaking, each motion careful and uncertain. "Are you comfortable?" Naomi asked softly. Lily nodded, but her eyes never left Naomi's face. There was something haunting in that gaze, something that made Naomi want to gather her up and promise her that everything would be okay, even though she had no right to make such promises. "Would you like me to tell you a story?" Naomi asked, settling into the chair beside the bed. Another nod. Naomi searched her mind for something appropriate, something gentle. She'd told hundreds of stories to the children at the preschool where she taught, but suddenly her mind felt blank. Then she remembered. "Once upon a time," she began, "there was a little seed that fell from a big, beautiful tree. The seed was scared because it was all alone in the dark ground. It couldn't see the sun. It couldn't feel the wind. It thought it had been forgotten." Lily's hand crept across the blanket until it found Naomi's again. Naomi squeezed gently and continued. But what the seed didn't know was that even in the darkness, something magical was happening. It was growing roots, strong roots that would help it stand tall when it finally broke through the soil. And one day, after what felt like forever, the seed pushed up through the dirt and saw the sun again. It had become something new, something beautiful, a tiny green sprout that would one day grow into a tree just as strong as the one it came from. She paused, brushing a strand of hair from Lily's forehead. "Sometimes we have to go through dark times, scary times, but those times make us stronger. They give us roots, and when we come out on the other side, we're still us. Just better, braver." Lily's eyes were growing heavy. Her breathing had slowed, becoming deeper and more even. The tension that had made her little body so rigid was melting away. "Will you stay?" she whispered. Naomi's throat tightened. "I'll stay right here until you fall asleep. Promise?" "I promise." It took less than 5 minutes. One moment Lily was fighting to keep her eyes open, and the next she was asleep, her face finally peaceful. But she never let go of Naomi's hand. Naomi sat there in the dim light, watching this child she'd just met sleep like she'd known her forever. Her heart ached in a way that felt both familiar and entirely new. She thought about the baby she'd lost 2 years ago, The pregnancy that had ended at 12 weeks, taking her relationship and a piece of her heart with it. She'd thought she'd healed from that loss, but sitting here holding this little girl's hand, she felt the old wound crack open just enough to remind her it was still there. "Thank you." The whisper came from behind her. She turned to find Mr. Rhodes standing in the doorway. He'd removed his suit jacket, and his tie hung loose around his neck. He looked exhausted, human, nothing like the powerful figure she'd seen arguing with doctors earlier. "She's asleep," Naomi said quietly. He nodded, not coming any closer, as if he was afraid his presence might shatter the fragile peace in the room. "I haven't seen her sleep like that since before." He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. "I'm sorry," Naomi said, "for your loss." His jaw tightened. For a moment she thought he might break down right there, but he pulled himself together with visible effort. "Her name was Clara," he said finally. "My wife. We were at the beach. Lily went out too far in the water. Clara went in after her. She saved Lily. But the current—" He stopped, pressing his fingers against his eyes. Naomi wanted to say something comforting, but what words existed for a loss like that? What could possibly help? "Lily saw it all," he continued, his voice hollow. "She hasn't spoken since that day. The doctors said it's trauma, selective mutism. She's trapped inside her own mind, reliving it over and over. Nothing we've tried has worked. Until you." "I just hummed a song," Naomi said, feeling inadequate. "You gave her hope." He finally looked at her directly. "Even if it's false hope, even if it's just for tonight, you gave her something to hold on to." There was a flash of light from the hallway. Naomi glanced over and saw one of the nurses quickly lowering her phone. "Did she just take a picture?" Mr. Rhodes finished grimly. "Yes, I should have expected that. Why would she?" "Because I'm Ethan Rhodes. Because people care more about getting a story than respecting privacy." The name clicked in Naomi's memory. Rhodes Technologies. The billionaire CEO who'd been all over the news after his wife's death. She hadn't made the connection until now. "I should go," she said, gently extracting her hand from Lily's. The little girl stirred but didn't wake. "Wait." Ethan stepped into the room. Can I have your contact information, in case Lily asks for you again?" Something in Naomi's gut twisted. This felt like standing at the edge of something dangerous, but when she looked at Lily's peaceful face, she couldn't bring herself to say no. "Okay," she said, pulling out her phone. "But Mr. Rhodes—" Ethan, I need you to understand something. I can't actually be her mother. This was 1 hour, that's all I agreed to." "I know." But the desperation in his eyes told her he was already hoping for more. They exchanged numbers in silence. As Naomi gathered her things, she took one last look at Lily. The little girl had rolled onto her side, her thumb tucked near her mouth in a gesture so achingly young it made Naomi's chest hurt. "Goodbye," she whispered, though she wasn't sure who she was saying it to. She left quickly before she could change her mind, before she could let herself get pulled any deeper into their tragedy. But as she walked down the hospital corridor, she could feel Ethan's eyes on her back, and she knew, somehow she just knew, that this wasn't really goodbye at all. Naomi's phone started ringing at 6:30 the next morning. She groaned, rolling over in her narrow bed and squinting at the screen. Tasha. Her sister never called this early, unless something was wrong. "Lo?" she mumbled. "Naomi Carter, what the hell did you do?" That woke her up. "What?" "Check your phone, check your email, check everything. You're all over the internet." Naomi's stomach dropped. She pulled the phone away from her ear and opened her social media. The first thing she saw made her breath catch in her throat. It was a photo, her sitting beside Lily's hospital bed, holding the little girl's hand. The angle made it look intimate, familial, like she belonged there. The caption read, "Ethan Rhodes reunited with wife and daughter at Memorial Hospital. After months of grief, the family appears to be healing together." "Oh no," Naomi whispered. "Oh no." Tasha's voice rose. "That's all you have to say? Naomi, there are like 50 articles about you. They're calling you Mrs. Rhodes. They're saying you've been in hiding since the accident." Naomi scrolled through her phone with shaking hands. Tasha wasn't exaggerating. The story had exploded overnight. The photo had been shared thousands of times, and in every version of the story she was Ethan Rhodes's wife. "I can explain," she started. "You better, because I'm coming over right now, and you're going to tell me everything." The line went dead. Naomi sat up, her mind racing. This was bad. This was really bad. She was a preschool teacher. Her reputation was everything. If parents thought she was involved in some kind of scandal, she could lose her job. And even if that didn't happen, how was she supposed to explain this to anyone? Her phone rang again. This time it was an unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her press the green button. Naomi Carter? A man's voice, professional and clipped. Yes, this is Andrew Kent from Rhodes Technologies. Mr. Rhodes would like to meet with you this morning to discuss the situation. Are you available at 9? What? I have work. Mr. Rhodes is prepared to compensate you for your time. This is rather urgent. Naomi closed her eyes. Of course it was. The whole world thought she was his wife. Fine, she said. Where? He gave her the address of a cafe downtown. Neutral ground. That was something at least. After hanging up, Naomi sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the photo on her phone. In it, she looked like she belonged there, like she was really Lily's mother. The worst part was, a small shameful part of her wished it was true. She pushed the thought away and went to shower before Tasha arrived. Her sister showed up 45 minutes later with coffee and judgment in equal measure. Start talking, Tasha said, dropping onto Naomi's worn couch. She was still in her scrubs from her night shift at the hospital, a different hospital, thankfully, on the other side of the city. Naomi explained everything, the crying child, the desperate father, the 1 hour that was supposed to be simple and contained and nothing more. Tasha listened with her arms crossed, her expression growing more concerned with every word. Naomi, she said when the story was finished, this is insane. You can't get involved with these people. I'm not involved, I just helped a child in distress. And now the entire world thinks you're married to a billionaire. Tasha shook her head. Do you understand how complicated this is going to get? The press, the attention, his family. Not to mention the fact that you're lying to a traumatized 6-year-old. I know. Naomi's voice came out small. I know it's wrong. But you didn't see her, Tasha. She was so scared, so lost. And when she looked at me, you saw yourself. Tasha finished gently. Naomi's eyes burned. Maybe. They sat in silence for a moment. Outside, the city was waking up. Car horns, distant sirens, the everyday soundtrack of life going on as normal. But nothing felt normal anymore. What are you going to do? Tasha asked. I'm meeting with him, with Ethan, in an hour. Want me to come with you? Naomi almost said yes, but something told her this was a conversation she needed to have alone. No, but thank you. Tasha pulled her into a tight hug. Be careful, okay? Rich people live in a different world than us. Don't let him make you feel like you owe him anything. I won't. But even as she said it, Naomi thought about Lily's small hand in hers, the trust in those blue eyes, the way the little girl had finally been able to sleep. Maybe she did owe them something, or maybe she just wanted to believe she could help. Either way, she knew she was going to that meeting. The cafe was one of those trendy places with exposed brick and overpriced lattes. Naomi felt out of place the moment she walked in, still wearing her work uniform, simple black pants and a purple polo shirt with the preschool's logo embroidered on the chest. Ethan sat at a corner table, and somehow he looked even more exhausted than he had the night before. His suit was crisp, his appearance controlled, but there were dark circles under his eyes that no amount of expensive coffee could hide. He stood when he saw her, the gesture unexpectedly formal. Thank you for coming, he said. Did I have a choice? The words came out sharper than she intended. His expression flickered with something that might have been guilt. Please, sit. She did, clutching her purse in her lap like a shield. I'm sure you've seen the news, he began. Kind of hard to miss. I've had my PR team working all morning to contain it, but the truth is, the damage is done. Everyone believes you're my wife. Denying it now would only create more questions, more attention. So what are you saying? Naomi asked, though she was afraid she already knew. Ethan leaned forward, his grey eyes intense. Lily woke up asking for you. She's been calm all morning, responsive. The doctors are amazed. They think... He paused, struggling with the words. They think you might be the key to her recovery. I'm not her mother. I know that. But she believes you are. And right now, that belief is the only thing keeping her stable. Naomi shook her head. You can't ask me to keep lying to her. I'm not asking you to lie. I'm asking you to help her heal. He pulled out his phone and showed her a video. It was Lily, sitting up in her hospital bed, drawing a picture. The fear that had consumed her yesterday was gone. She looked like a normal little girl. Naomi's resolve wavered. The doctors want to start therapy, Ethan continued, but they need her to feel secure first. They need her to trust again. And for some reason, she trusts you. For how long? Naomi asked quietly. A few weeks, maybe a month, just until she's strong enough to understand the truth. And what happens when she finds out I'm not really her mother? When she realizes it was all a lie? We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. He reached across the table, not quite touching her, but close enough that she could feel the warmth of his hand. I know this is asking too much. I know I have no right, but I'm begging you. She's my daughter. She's all I have left. His voice cracked on the last word, and Naomi saw past the billionaire, past the powerful CEO, to the grieving father underneath, the man who had watched his wife die and his daughter break and didn't know how to fix either one. She thought about walking away, going back to her simple life, her small apartment, her preschool job, staying safe. But then she thought about Lily's hand in hers, the way the little girl had finally slept, the peaceful expression on her face when the nightmares couldn't reach her. I need to think about it, Naomi said. Ethan nodded, his shoulders slumping slightly. Of course, I understand. Take whatever time you... The cafe door opened, and a small voice called out, "Mommy!" Naomi's head whipped around. There in the doorway was Lily. She wore a simple blue dress, and her hair had been brushed into pigtails. A woman who must have been a nanny stood behind her, looking apologetic and helpless. But Lily only had eyes for Naomi. She ran across the cafe, weaving between tables, and threw herself into Naomi's arms with the full force of a 6-year-old who had been waiting forever to see her mother again. "Mommy, you came back," she whispered, her small arms wrapped tight around Naomi's neck. "I knew you would." Naomi's throat closed. She looked over Lily's head at Ethan, who was watching them with an expression of such raw emotion she had to look away. She held Lily close, feeling the little girl's heartbeat against her chest, and knew she'd already made her decision. Maybe she'd made it the moment she'd knelt outside that hospital room and started humming. "Of course I came back, sweetheart," she heard herself say, the lie tasting like ash and honey on her tongue. "I'll always come back." And just like that, 1 hour became something much more complicated, something that might break her heart or heal it. She didn't know which yet, but as Lily pulled back and smiled at her, really smiled with her whole face lit up like the sun, Naomi realized she was willing to risk finding out. The mansion sat on a cliff overlooking the Pacific Ocean, all glass and steel and impossible beauty. Naomi had seen houses like this in magazines, on TV shows about the lifestyles of people who lived in a completely different universe. She'd never imagined she'd actually walk through the doors of one. Yet here she was, standing in the circular driveway with 2 suitcases at her feet, wondering what kind of alternate reality she'd stumbled into. "It's big," she said, which felt like the understatement of the century. Ethan stood beside her, Lily's hand in his. The little girl hadn't let go of him since they'd left the cafe 3 hours ago. They'd gone back to the hospital, signed discharge papers, and now here they were, about to play house in a mansion that probably had more bathrooms than Naomi's entire apartment building. "Too big," Ethan said quietly. "Clara always said it felt cold." Before Naomi could respond, the front door opened. A woman emerged, late 50s, with kind eyes and graying hair pulled back in a neat bun. She wore simple clothes and an apron, and her smile was genuine as she approached. "You must be Naomi," she said warmly. "I'm Grace. I manage the household." "Nice to meet you," Naomi said, shaking her hand. Grace's grip was firm, her gaze assessing but not unkind. "Mr. Rhodes explained the situation. I want you to know that Lily's well-being is all that matters to me. If you can help her heal, then you're welcome here." There was a weight to those words, an acceptance that Naomi hadn't expected. "Thank you," she managed. Grace knelt down to Lily's level. "Hello, sweetheart. Are you happy to be home?" Lily nodded, then looked up at Naomi with those wide blue eyes. "Is Mommy staying?" The word still hit Naomi like a punch every time she heard it, but she forced a smile. "Yes, honey, I'm staying." Lily's whole face lit up. Grace straightened, and Naomi caught the shimmer of tears in the older woman's eyes before she quickly blinked them away. "Well then, let me show you to your room." The house was even more overwhelming inside. High ceilings, modern art on the walls, furniture that looked like it belonged in a museum. Everything was pristine, elegant, and somehow deeply lonely. Grace led her up a sweeping staircase to the second floor. "Lily's room is here," she said, gesturing to a door painted soft lavender. "Mr. Rhodes's suite is at the end of the hall, and this will be your room." She opened a door to reveal a space that was bigger than Naomi's entire apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the ocean, a king-sized bed with white linens, a sitting area with a couch and a fireplace. It was beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. "I can't, this is too much," Naomi stammered. "Nonsense. You're a guest here. You'll be treated as such. Grace set Naomi's suitcases inside. Dinner is at 6. Lily usually eats at 5:30. I'll come get you when it's time. She started to leave, then paused in the doorway. Can I give you some advice? Please. This house hasn't heard laughter in a very long time. Not since Clara passed. Mr. Rhodes doesn't know how to bring joy back into these walls, but maybe you do. She smiled sadly. Just be careful, dear. This house has a way of making people fall in love too easily, and love in a place built on grief can be complicated. Before Naomi could ask what she meant, Grace was gone. Naomi stood alone in her new room, staring out at the endless ocean, wondering what she'd gotten herself into. That first night, Naomi learned that Lily had nightmares. She'd barely fallen asleep when she heard the screaming. It cut through the silence of the house like a knife, high-pitched and terrified. Naomi was out of bed and running before she fully woke up, her bare feet silent on the hardwood floors. Lily's room was down the hall. Naomi burst through the door to find the little girl thrashing in her bed, tangled in her sheets, crying out words that didn't make sense. "Lily!" Naomi rushed to her side. "Hey, sweetie, wake up, you're dreaming!" But Lily couldn't hear her. She was trapped somewhere else, somewhere dark and cold where her mother was drowning and she couldn't save her. Naomi gathered her into her arms, holding her tight. "Shh, baby, I'm here. You're safe. I've got you." She started humming that same lullaby from the hospital, rocking Lily gently. The little girl fought at first, still lost in her nightmare. But gradually, so gradually, she started to calm. Her cries became whimpers. Her rigid body began to relax. "Mommy," she whispered, her voice hoarse. "I'm right here. Don't leave me in the water." Naomi's heart shattered. "Never, sweetheart. I'll never leave you." It was a lie, a beautiful, terrible lie. But in that moment, with this broken child in her arms, it felt like the only truth that mattered. She held Lily until she fell back asleep, then carefully laid her down and pulled the covers up to her chin. The little girl's face was blotchy from crying, her lashes still wet with tears. When Naomi turned to leave, she saw him. Ethan stood in the doorway like a ghost watching. He wore pajama pants and a t-shirt, his hair messed from sleep, but his eyes were wide awake, filled with a pain so deep it made Naomi want to look away. "How long has she been having nightmares?" Naomi whispered. "Every night since Clara died." His voice was rough. "Usually she screams for an hour. Nothing I do helps. I sit with her and wait for it to pass." Naomi looked back at Lily, now sleeping peacefully. "She's so young to carry that much pain." "I know." Ethan stepped into the room, moving to the other side of Lily's bed. He brushed a strand of hair from her face with a gentleness that contrasted sharply with his powerful businessman image. "Thank you for helping her." "You don't have to keep thanking me." "Yes, I do." He met her eyes across Lily's sleeping form. "You're saving her life. Both our lives, really. I don't know how to repay that." "You're paying me," Naomi reminded him, though the arrangement still felt wrong in her gut. "Money isn't—" He stopped, shook his head. "Never mind, you should get some rest." But neither of them moved. They stood there in the dim glow of Lily's nightlight, two strangers bound together by a sleeping child and a web of necessary lies. "Mr. Rhodes." "Ethan," he corrected softly. "Ethan, can I ask you something?" "Anything." "Why me? Why did Lily respond to me and not all those doctors?" He was quiet for a long moment. "I've been wondering that myself. Maybe it's because you didn't try to fix her. You just saw her. You hummed a song and offered your hand and asked nothing in return. Maybe that's what she needed. Someone who wasn't trying to save her. Just someone who was willing to sit with her in the darkness." His words hung in the air between them, heavy with meaning. "I should go," Naomi said, suddenly needing space. "Naomi." He stopped her with just her name. Grace was right about the laughter. Clara used to fill this house with it. Lily used to laugh all the time. "I'd forgotten what that sounded like until I heard her giggle in the car today when you made that silly face. So thank you for giving us that back, even if just for a moment." Naomi nodded, not trusting her voice, and slipped out of the room. She made it back to her own room before the tears came. She wasn't even sure why she was crying. Maybe it was the weight of what she'd agreed to do. Maybe it was the grief rolling off Ethan in waves. Or maybe it was simpler than that. Maybe it was because some part of her wanted this to be real, and that scared her more than anything. The next few days fell into a rhythm that felt both surreal and strangely natural. Naomi woke early. She'd hear Lily padding down the hallway, and the little girl would climb into her bed, snuggling close. They'd watch the sunrise through the massive windows, painting the ocean in shades of pink and gold. Then they'd go downstairs for breakfast. Grace always had something ready. pancakes shaped like animals, scrambled eggs, fresh fruit cut into stars. She'd smile at them from the kitchen, clearly pleased to see the house coming alive again. Ethan usually appeared around 7:30, dressed in one of his perfect suits, his armor firmly in place. But Naomi noticed cracks in that armor, the way his eyes softened when he looked at Lily, the careful distance he maintained from Naomi, as if he was afraid to get too close. They'd eat breakfast together, the three of them, and it felt like playing house, like a performance they were all trying to perfect. After breakfast, Ethan would leave for work, and Naomi would spend the day with Lily. They'd paint, do puzzles, work in the garden that Grace maintained. Naomi introduced art therapy techniques she'd learned from her teaching, helping Lily express feelings she couldn't put into words. The little girl's drawings were heartbreaking: dark waters, storms, a small figure reaching for a woman who was always just out of reach. But slowly, other images started appearing too. Sunshine, flowers, three people holding hands. In the afternoons, they'd walk on the beach below the house. Lily loved collecting shells, and Naomi would help her find the prettiest ones. The ocean breeze would tangle their hair together, Lily's blonde, Naomi's black, and from a distance, they probably looked exactly like what everyone believed them to be: mother and daughter. The thought made Naomi's chest ache every time. Evenings were the hardest. Ethan would come home exhausted from his day, and they'd have dinner together. Grace always left before the meal, giving them family time. The three of them would sit at the huge dining table that could seat 20, clustered at one end like survivors of a shipwreck, clinging to the same piece of driftwood. Lily would chatter about her day, more words every evening, her voice growing stronger. Ethan would listen with an expression that was part joy, part sorrow, and Naomi would feel the weight of their dependence on her growing heavier. After dinner, Naomi would give Lily a bath and tuck her into bed. She'd tell stories about brave little girls and magical adventures and happy endings. Sometimes Ethan would appear in the doorway, just listening. Naomi never acknowledged him, but she was always aware of his presence. Then she'd retreat to her room and call Tasha, who was growing increasingly worried about the whole situation. "You sound different," her sister said one night. "Different how?" "I don't know. Softer. Like you're—" Tasha paused. "Naomi, you're not falling for him, are you?" "Of course not," Naomi said too quickly. "This is just a job. I'm helping a child. You're terrible at lying to me. Tasha, just be careful. Please. I don't want to see you get hurt." "I won't," Naomi promised. But she was lying to both of them. On the fourth day, Andrew Kent showed up. Naomi had heard about Ethan's PR director but hadn't met him yet. He arrived during lunch, walking into the dining room like he owned the place. He was handsome in an artificial way. Perfect hair, perfect teeth, perfect suit. But his eyes were cold as they swept over Naomi. "So you're the preschool teacher," he said without preamble. Ethan stood abruptly. "Andrew, not now. We need to talk about the gala." "What gala?" Naomi asked. Andrew smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "The Children's Hospital fundraiser next Friday. Ethan is the keynote speaker, and obviously his wife will need to attend." The word wife sounded like an accusation the way he said it. "Naomi doesn't have to," Ethan started. "Actually, she does," Andrew interrupted. "The whole city will be there. If she doesn't show up, people will start asking questions. The narrative we've built about the family reuniting will fall apart." Naomi's stomach dropped. "I can't go to a gala. I'm not what? Not sophisticated enough? Not wealthy enough?" Andrew's smile turned sharp. "Don't worry. We'll get you a dress, hair and makeup. You'll look the part." "Andrew, that's enough," Ethan said sharply. But the damage was done. Naomi felt exposed, like Andrew had stripped away the illusion and showed her exactly what she was. A fraud pretending to belong in a world that would never really accept her. "I need some air," she said quietly, standing up. "Naomi," Ethan reached for her, but she was already walking away through the house and out onto the terrace. Her hands shook as she gripped the railing, staring out at the ocean without really seeing it. She heard footsteps behind her. Expected Ethan. Was surprised when Grace appeared instead. "Don't mind Andrew," the older woman said, coming to stand beside her. "He's protective of Mr. Rhodes, and suspicious of anyone new. He thinks I'm using Ethan, probably, but his opinion doesn't matter. What matters is what you and Mr. Rhodes know to be true." "And what's that?" Naomi asked bitterly. "That this is all fake? That I'm getting paid to pretend to be someone I'm not?" Grace was quiet for a moment. "Is it pretending? When you comfort Lily through her nightmares, when you spend your days making her smile, when you sit at that dinner table looking like a family that actually cares about each other, It's not real, Naomi whispered. Isn't it? Grace touched her arm gently. I've worked for this family for 10 years. I watched Mr. Rhodes fall in love with Clara, watched them build a life together, watched it all fall apart, and I'm watching him now, the way he looks at you, the way he's starting to smile again. That's real, dear, whether you want to admit it or not. Before Naomi could respond, Lily's voice called out from inside the house. Mommy, come play with me. Grace smiled. That's real too. She walked back inside, leaving Naomi alone with her thoughts and the endless ocean. That night, after Lily was asleep, Naomi found Ethan in his study. She'd been wandering the house, still getting lost despite several days there, when she saw light under a door. She knocked softly. Come in. He sat behind a massive desk, papers spread everywhere, his tie loosened and his sleeves rolled up. He looked tired, more human than the polished CEO everyone else saw. I'm sorry about Andrew, he said immediately. It's fine. It's not. He stood, coming around the desk. He had no right to speak to you that way. He's right, though. About the gala. If I don't go, people will wonder why. You don't have to go. I'll make an excuse. What kind of excuse? That your supposedly reunited wife doesn't want to be seen with you in public? Naomi shook her head. I'll go. I agreed to help. This is part of it. Ethan studied her face. You shouldn't have to do this. But I am doing it. So let's just get through it. They stood there in the quiet study, and Naomi realized how close they were standing. Close enough that she could see the flecks of silver in his grey eyes. Close enough to notice the faint scar above his left eyebrow. Can I ask you something? She said. Of course. Why haven't you asked me anything about myself? My life, my family. You hired me to live in your house, to take care of your daughter, but you don't know anything about me. He looked surprised by the question. I suppose I didn't think I had the right. You're doing me this enormous favor. I didn't want to intrude on your privacy, but you're letting me into yours. That's different. How? He was quiet for a long moment. Because I'm desperate. Because I'll do anything to save my daughter. Even trust a stranger with our most intimate moments. He paused. But you're right. I would like to know more about you. If you're willing to share? Naomi found herself nodding. She moved to the leather couch by the window and sat down. After a moment, Ethan joined her, keeping a respectful distance between them. I'm a preschool teacher, she started. Have been for 5 years. I live in a tiny apartment in the arts district with too many plants and not enough closet space. I have one sister, Tasha. She's a nurse. Our parents died in a car accident when I was 16. Tasha raised me. I'm sorry, Ethan said softly. It was a long time ago. Naomi tucked her legs under her. I almost got married once, 3 years ago. His name was Marcus. We were together for 2 years. What happened? She hesitated, then decided he deserved honesty. I got pregnant. We weren't planning it, but I was happy. I thought he was too, but at 12 weeks I miscarried. Her voice went quiet. Marcus couldn't handle it. The grief, the hospitals, the mess of it all. He left 2 months later. Said he needed space. I never heard from him again. Ethan's jaw tightened. I'm sorry, no one should go through that alone. Tasha was there. She's always there. Naomi smiled sadly. But yeah, it was hard. I threw myself into teaching after that. Kids became my whole world. Easier to love them than risk loving someone who might leave. Is that why you said yes to helping Lily? Because you understand loss? Maybe. Naomi looked at him. Or maybe I just couldn't walk away from a child who needed me. I don't know, I'm still figuring that out. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Ethan spoke, his voice rough with emotion. Clara and I met in college. She was studying marine biology, spent half her life in the ocean. She used to say the water was where she felt most free. He swallowed hard. The day she died, I was at work. I should have been there. I should have been watching them. But I was in a meeting about quarterly reports and profit margins. Things that seem so stupid now. You can't blame yourself for that, can't I? His eyes were haunted. Lily went too far out. Clara went after her. The current was too strong. A surfer pulled Lily out, but Clara... He stopped, his hands clenched into fists. She drowned, saving our daughter. And Lily watched the whole thing. She called for her mother, watched her go under. That's the last image in her mind every night when she closes her eyes. Naomi's throat tightened with unshed tears. Ethan, sometimes I wonder if Lily would be better off without me. If the reminder of what happened is too much. Don't say that. Naomi reached out without thinking, covering his hand with hers. You're her father. You're everything to her. She needs you. He looked down at their joined hands. She needs you too. She's happier now than she's been in months. That's because of you. It's a lie, though. What happens when she learns the truth? I don't know, he admitted. But I'm starting to think, maybe some truths are built slowly. Maybe by the time she's ready to understand, it won't feel like a lie anymore. It'll just be how things evolved. Naomi wanted to pull her hand away. This was getting too complicated, too real. But his hand was warm under hers, and the vulnerability in his eyes held her captive. Grace says this house makes people fall in love too easily, she said quietly. Ethan's expression shifted into something she couldn't quite read. Does it? I don't know yet. They stayed like that, hands touching, eyes locked, until the moment stretched too long and became dangerous. Then Naomi stood, breaking the spell. I should go. Check on Lily. Of course. Ethan stood too, his expression carefully neutral now. Good night, Naomi. Good night? She walked out of the study with her heart pounding and her hand still tingling from his touch. This was supposed to be simple. Help a child, collect a paycheck, keep her distance. But nothing about this felt simple anymore. The charity gala was held at the Ocean View Hotel in a ballroom that glittered with crystal chandeliers and wealthy people in expensive clothes. Naomi felt like an imposter from the moment she stepped out of the car. The dress Ethan had bought her was beautiful, midnight blue silk that hugged her curves and made her skin glow. Her hair had been styled in soft curls that cascaded down her back. Professional makeup made her eyes look bigger, her lips fuller. She looked like she belonged here, but she knew the truth. Under all the polish, she was still just Naomi Carter from the Arts District, who took the bus to work and ate ramen 3 nights a week. You look beautiful, Ethan said beside her. He wore a tuxedo that probably cost more than her car. His hand rested at the small of her back, warm and steady through the thin fabric of her dress. To anyone watching, they looked perfect together. The billionaire and his wife, reunited after tragedy, stronger than ever. All lies. I feel like a fraud, Naomi whispered. You're not. His fingers pressed slightly against her back. Just stay close to me. I'll handle everything. But the moment they walked through those doors, everything became overwhelming. Cameras flashed. People stared. Whispers followed them like smoke. Is that really her? I heard she's been in hiding. She's beautiful. Do you think they'll stay together? Naomi's breathing quickened. Panic clawed at her chest. There were too many people. Too many eyes. Too many expectations. Ethan must have felt her trembling because he leaned close, his lips nearly touching her ear. Breathe. You're okay. I've got you. His voice was an anchor. She focused on it, on him, on the solid presence beside her. They made their way through the crowd. People approached. Colleagues of Ethan's, board members, philanthropists. Everyone wanted to meet Mrs. Rhodes. Everyone had questions. Naomi smiled, shook hands. Let Ethan answer most of the questions while she nodded and played her part. Then a journalist appeared, aggressive, pushy, shoving a recorder in Naomi's face. Mrs. Rhodes, where have you been for the past 3 months? Is it true you had a mental breakdown? How does it feel to be back in the spotlight? Ethan's entire demeanor changed. He stepped between Naomi and the journalist, his expression hard as stone. That's enough. My wife is not answering questions tonight. Leave us alone or I'll have security remove you. The journalist sneered but backed off. Ethan's hand moved from Naomi's back to wrap around her shoulders, pulling her against his side. The gesture was protective, possessive, and despite everything, Naomi felt safe. I'm sorry, he murmured. I should have anticipated this. It's okay. It's not. Come on, let's get some air. He guided her through the crowd and out onto a private balcony overlooking the ocean. The cool night air was a relief after the stuffiness of the ballroom. Naomi leaned against the railing, her hands shaking slightly. You did great in there, Ethan said. I feel like I'm going to throw up. He smiled, a real smile that transformed his whole face. You'll get used to it, the attention. I don't want to get used to it. She turned to face him. This isn't my world, Ethan. I don't belong here. Says who? Everyone. Andrew. Those people in there. Even you, probably. I've never thought that. He moved closer. You know what I see when I look at you. Someone brave enough to help a stranger. Someone kind enough to love a broken child. Someone strong enough to walk into a room full of vultures and hold her head high. His voice dropped. You belong anywhere you choose to be, Naomi. The way he said her name made her stomach flip. This is dangerous, she whispered. What is? This. Us. Being alone out here. Standing this close. I know. But he didn't move away. They stood there, inches apart, the ocean breeze wrapping around them. Naomi could see the conflict in his eyes, want and guilt battling for dominance. "I should thank you," she said, trying to break the tension, "for defending me in there." "You don't have to thank me for that." "Then what should I thank you for?" His eyes searched her face. "I don't know. Maybe for making me feel something other than grief for the first time in months." The confession hung between them, raw and honest. Naomi knew she should step back, put distance between them, but her body wouldn't cooperate. "We should go back inside," she finally managed. "Yeah," but neither of them moved. Then, from inside the ballroom, someone called Ethan's name. The spell broke. They separated, suddenly aware of how close they'd been standing. "After you," Ethan said, gesturing to the door. Naomi walked back into the glittering ballroom, her heart racing and her mind spinning. She'd been here less than a week, and already everything felt different. Already she was forgetting where the act ended and reality began. And judging by the look in Ethan's eyes when she glanced back at him, she wasn't the only one. They got home past midnight. Grace had stayed late to watch Lily, who was asleep in her bed when they checked on her. "She was perfect," Grace whispered. "No nightmares." "She talked about you all evening, Naomi, about the painting you're working on together." Relief washed through Naomi. "Thank you, Grace. Go on now. Both of you look exhausted." They walked upstairs together, the house dark and quiet around them. When they reached Naomi's door, Ethan paused. "Thank you," he said, "for tonight, for all of this. You keep thanking me, because I'm grateful for everything you're doing for us." There it was again, that word. Us, not just Lily, both of them. "Ethan," Naomi started, not sure what she wanted to say, but before she could figure it out, he leaned down and pressed a soft kiss to her forehead. It was gentle, chaste, nothing like what she'd been imagining on that balcony, and somehow that made it worse. "Good night, Naomi," he whispered. Then he walked away, leaving her standing in the hallway, with her heart racing and her skin tingling where his lips had touched. She went into her room and closed the door, leaning against it. This was getting too real, too complicated, and the scariest part was that she didn't want it to stop. The morning routine had become Naomi's favorite part of the day. She'd wake to the sound of small feet padding across hardwood floors, then Lily would climb into bed beside her, smelling like strawberry shampoo and childhood innocence. "Morning, Mommy," Lily would whisper, snuggling close, and every morning Naomi's heart would break and heal simultaneously. A week had passed since the gala, 7 days of falling deeper into a life that wasn't really hers, 7 days of catching Ethan's eyes across the breakfast table and feeling electricity arc between them, 7 days of pretending she didn't want something she had no right to want. This particular morning, Lily was especially excited. She bounced on the bed, her blonde pigtails flying. "Can we go to the beach today, please? I want to find more shells for our picture." They'd been working on a mosaic together, gluing shells onto a canvas to create an ocean scene. It was meant to be therapeutic, a way for Lily to process her trauma through art. But it had become something more, a project that belonged to just the two of them. "Of course we can, sweetheart." Lily threw her arms around Naomi's neck. "You're the best mommy in the whole world." The words should have felt wrong. They should have made Naomi pull away and correct her. But instead, she held Lily tighter and whispered, "You're pretty special yourself, kiddo." They went downstairs hand in hand. Grace was already in the kitchen, humming as she flipped pancakes. The smell of coffee and bacon filled the air. "Morning, you two," Grace said with a warm smile. "Morning." Lily climbed onto her usual chair. "We're going to the beach today." "Are you now?" "Well, that sounds lovely." Ethan appeared in the doorway, dressed for work but looking less polished than usual. His tie was loose, his hair slightly mussed. He'd been in his study until late again last night. Naomi had heard him pacing. "Good morning," he said, his eyes finding Naomi's immediately. Something had shifted between them since the gala, an awareness that crackled in the air whenever they were in the same room. They were both trying to ignore it, but it was getting harder every day. "Morning," Naomi replied, looking away before she could get lost in his gaze. Lily launched into a detailed explanation of their beach plans while Ethan poured his coffee. He listened with that focused attention he always gave his daughter, like nothing else in the world mattered more than her words. "That sounds perfect, Lilybug," he said when she finished. Then to Naomi, "Will you be okay if Andrew stops by this afternoon? He needs some documents signed." Naomi stiffened. She'd successfully avoided Andrew since their first unpleasant encounter. "Fine. If he says anything, I can handle Andrew Kent," Naomi interrupted. She didn't need Ethan fighting her battles. Something flickered in his expression. Pride, maybe, or respect. "I know you can." Their eyes held for a beat too long. Grace cleared her throat, breaking the moment. "Pancakes are ready," she announced cheerfully. They ate breakfast like a family, passing syrup, laughing at Lily's jokes, existing in a bubble of normalcy that felt both wonderful and dangerous. When Ethan left for work, he hesitated at the door. "Have fun at the beach," he said. "We will," Naomi promised. He nodded, then walked out, but not before Naomi caught the longing in his eyes, like he wished he could stay, could be part of their day instead of heading to his office downtown. The beach was perfect. Warm sun, cool breeze, and Lily was fearless in a way that made Naomi's chest tight with emotion. She ran along the water's edge, letting waves chase her feet, laughing with pure joy. This was the same ocean that had taken her mother, but Lily was reclaiming it, one careful step at a time. Naomi sat on a blanket, watching, ready to run if Lily showed any signs of panic. But the little girl was fine, more than fine. She was healing. "Look, Mommy!" Lily held up a perfect pink shell. "Can we use this one?" "It's beautiful, bring it here." Lily ran over, dropping the shell into their collection bucket before plopping down beside Naomi. "Can I ask you something? Anything? Do you think my real mommy would be happy? That you're taking care of me?" Naomi's breath caught. This was the first time Lily had acknowledged that Clara existed, that there was a real mommy separate from Naomi. She chose her words carefully. "I think your real mommy loves you more than anything in the whole world, and I think she'd be happy that you're smiling again." "I miss her," Lily whispered, her blue eyes suddenly full of tears. "But I love you too. Is that okay?" Naomi pulled her close, her own eyes burning. "That's more than okay, sweetheart. You can miss your mommy and still love other people. Your heart is big enough for both." They sat like that for a long time, holding each other while the waves crashed against the shore. When Lily pulled back, she was smiling again. "I'm glad Daddy found you," she said simply. Then she ran off to collect more shells, leaving Naomi to wonder how she'd ever find the strength to leave this child when the time came. Andrew Kent arrived at 3 o'clock sharp, carrying a leather briefcase and his usual air of superiority. Grace showed him to the living room where Naomi was helping Lily sort their shells. The little girl looked up, then immediately moved closer to Naomi. "Mr. Kent," Grace said coolly. She clearly didn't like him either. "Mrs. Rhodes," he said it like a challenge. "I need to speak with you alone." "Lily is fine right here," Naomi said firmly. "This is business. Then you can wait for Ethan." Andrew's jaw tightened. "I don't think you understand how things work." "Grace," Naomi interrupted. "Would you mind taking Lily to get a snack?" Grace's eyes sparkled with approval. "Of course, dear. Come on, sweetheart. Let's see what cookies we can find." Once they were gone, Naomi stood to face Andrew. She was still wearing her beach clothes, cut-off shorts and a simple tank top. Her hair was windblown, her feet bare. She looked nothing like the polished woman from the gala, and she didn't care. "You wanted to talk," she said. "I wanted to give you a reality check." Andrew set his briefcase down. "This arrangement, whatever you want to call it, is temporary. You know that, right?" "I'm aware." "Are you?" He stepped closer. "Because from where I'm standing, you're getting awfully comfortable in this house. Playing house with a man who's worth billions, a man who's vulnerable right now, grieving. It would be easy to take advantage of that." Anger flared in Naomi's chest. "I would never..." "Wouldn't you? You're living here rent-free, wearing designer clothes, attending fancy parties, all while pretending to be something you're not." His smile was cruel. "It's quite the upgrade from a preschool teacher's salary. Get out. I'm just trying to protect my client. Your client is a grown man who can make his own decisions, and he asked me to be here, so unless you have actual business to discuss, I suggest you leave." They stared at each other, the air between them hostile. Finally, Andrew picked up his briefcase. "Just remember, when this all falls apart, and it will, you'll go back to your real life, but Lily, she'll be devastated. You're setting that child up for another massive loss, and you're too selfish to see it." The words hit their mark, because he was right. Every day Naomi stayed, Lily grew more attached, more dependent, more convinced that Naomi was really her mother. "I'm doing my best to help her," Naomi said quietly. "Are you? Or are you just helping yourself?" He left before she could respond, his footsteps echoing through the house. Naomi sank onto the couch, Andrew's words circling in her head like vultures. Was he right? Was she being selfish? She'd told herself she was staying for Lily, but maybe somewhere along the way she'd started staying for herself too, for the way Ethan looked at her, for the family feeling she'd been craving since her parents died. for the life she'd never imagined she could have. "He's wrong, you know." Naomi looked up. Grace stood in the doorway, her expression gentle. "Is he? You love that little girl. Anyone with eyes can see it, and she loves you. That's not selfish. That's human." Grace sat beside her. "Andrew is afraid. Ethan is changing, opening up, letting someone new into his life. That threatens the careful control Andrew has always had over him. I am going to hurt Lily, though, when this ends. Maybe. Or maybe by then the truth won't hurt as much as you think. Maybe by then you won't be pretending anymore." Naomi wanted to believe that, but she'd learned the hard way that wanting something didn't make it true. Ethan came home early that evening. Naomi heard his car in the driveway just after 5, which was unusual. He typically didn't return until 7 or 8. She was in the kitchen with Lily, making dinner. Grace had left early for a doctor's appointment, so Naomi had volunteered to cook. She'd found pasta and vegetables and was making something simple but edible. "Daddy!" Lily ran to him when he walked in. He caught her up in his arms, lifting her high. "Hey, Lilybug, how was your day?" "We went to the beach and we found so many shells. And Naomi made dinner." His eyes found Naomi over Lily's head. "Did she now?" Naomi shrugged, suddenly self-conscious. "It's just spaghetti. Nothing fancy. It smells amazing." They ate together at the kitchen table instead of the formal dining room. It felt more intimate this way, more real. Lily chattered about their day while Ethan listened, his expression softer than Naomi had ever seen it. After dinner, he helped clean up, rolling up his sleeves and washing dishes while Naomi dried. Lily colored at the table, humming to herself. "Andrew came by today," Naomi said quietly. Ethan's jaw tightened. "What did he say?" "The usual. That I don't belong here, that I'm taking advantage of you." "That's ridiculous." "Is it?" Naomi set down the dish she was drying. "Maybe he has a point. This has gotten so complicated. I'm lying to your daughter every day. I'm living in your house, wearing clothes you bought, pretending to be someone I'm not." "You're not pretending." Ethan turned to face her fully. "Not about the things that matter. Your kindness, that's real. Your love for Lily, that's real. The way you've brought light back into this house, that's real. But the rest of it isn't. Then maybe we should change that." The words hung between them, heavy with possibility. "What are you saying?" Naomi whispered. "I don't know." He ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident. "I just know that every day it gets harder to remember why this is supposed to be temporary. Every morning when I leave for work, I wish I could stay. Every evening when I come home, seeing you here feels right. And that terrifies me. Ethan, I loved my wife," he continued, his voice raw. "I loved Clara with everything I had. And when she died, I thought that was it. I thought I'd never feel anything again except grief and guilt. But then you walked into that hospital, and everything changed." Naomi's heart pounded. "We can't do this. It's not fair to Lily, or to Clara's memory. I know all the reasons why this is wrong, but it doesn't change what I feel." They stood in the kitchen, dishes forgotten, the air between them electric. "I should go check on Lily," Naomi said, needing distance. But when she tried to move past him, Ethan caught her hand. "Wait," he said softly. She stopped, not looking at him. If she looked, she'd be lost. "I need you to know something," he continued. "Whatever happens, however this ends, you've already given me more than I had any right to ask for. You've given my daughter her smile back. You've given me hope, and I will always be grateful for that." Naomi finally met his eyes. The emotion there stole her breath. "I should never have agreed to this," she whispered. "Probably not. This is going to end badly. Maybe. So why can't I walk away?" "I don't know." His thumb brushed across her knuckles. "Why can't I let you?" They were standing too close again, just like at the gala, just like in his study. The pull between them was magnetic, undeniable. "Mommy, Daddy, come see my picture." Lily's voice shattered the moment. They sprang apart, both breathing hard. "Coming, sweetheart," Naomi called, her voice not quite steady. She pulled her hand free and walked into the other room, leaving Ethan standing in the kitchen looking like a man who'd just seen his whole world shift on its axis. That night, Naomi couldn't sleep. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment with Ethan. Every look, every touch, every word that had pulled them closer to a line they shouldn't cross. Around midnight, she gave up and went downstairs. Maybe some tea would help, or maybe she'd just sit in the dark and try to figure out what she was doing with her life. But when she reached the kitchen, she found Ethan already there. He stood at the window, looking out at the ocean, a glass of whiskey in his hand. "Couldn't sleep either," she asked softly. He turned, unsurprised by her presence. Too much on my mind? Yeah, me too. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Ethan spoke, his voice quiet but clear. I need to tell you about the day Clara died. Naomi's breath caught. You don't have to. I want to. He set down his glass. I need someone to understand, and for some reason you're the only person I want to tell. She moved to sit at the kitchen table. After a moment, he joined her. It was a Saturday, he began. Beautiful day. Clara wanted to go to the beach. I had work, always had work, but she insisted, said Lily needed family time, so I went. His voice cracked slightly. I brought my phone, my laptop, couldn't just disconnect for one day. Clara got frustrated. We argued. She took Lily down to the water while I stayed on the beach answering emails. Naomi reached across the table, covering his hand with hers. When I finally looked up, Lily was too far out. Clara was running into the water. I dropped everything and ran, but I was too far away. By the time I got there, a surfer was pulling Lily out. She was screaming, pointing at the water, and Clara... He stopped, his jaw working. They found her body 2 hours later. She'd saved Lily but couldn't save herself. Tears streamed down his face. If I hadn't been on my phone, if I'd been watching, if I'd just been present for one goddamn afternoon... Stop, Naomi said firmly. You can't do that to yourself. You can't carry that guilt. Why not? It's the truth. No. The truth is that Clara made a choice. She saw her daughter in danger and she acted. That's what mothers do. It wasn't your fault. Lily won't even look at me sometimes, like she blames me too. She doesn't blame you. She's scared and hurting and trying to process something no child should ever have to see. Naomi squeezed his hand. But she loves you, Ethan. She needs you. She needs you more. That's not true. Naomi hesitated, then decided honesty was the only path forward. I'm temporary. We both know that. Eventually, Lily will heal enough to hear the truth, and when that happens, I'll have to leave. But you'll still be here. You'll always be here. That's what matters. What if I don't want you to be temporary? The question hung in the air, dangerous and thrilling. Don't say that, Naomi whispered. Why not? It's how I feel. Because it's complicated. Because I work for you. Because your daughter thinks I'm her mother. Because you feel it too, he interrupted. I see it in your eyes when you look at me. I hear it in your voice when you say my name. You can't deny there's something between us. Even if there is, we can't act on it. It wouldn't be right. When is the right time then? When does this stop being a job and start being real? I don't know. Naomi pulled her hand back, standing up. I don't have answers, Ethan. All I know is that I came here to help a little girl, not to fall for her father. The admission slipped out before she could stop it. Ethan stood slowly. You're falling for me? I didn't mean... Naomi. He moved closer. Are you falling for me? She could lie, should lie, but she was so tired of pretending. Yes, she whispered. God help me, yes. He closed the distance between them in 2 strides. His hands framed her face, his eyes searching hers. Tell me to stop, he murmured. Tell me this is wrong and I'll walk away. I'll never mention it again. But Naomi couldn't say those words, because even though her brain knew this was a mistake, her heart wanted it anyway. I can't, she breathed. That was all the permission he needed. Ethan kissed her like he'd been drowning, and she was air. His lips were gentle at first, questioning, but when Naomi kissed him back, rising on her toes, her hands clutching his shirt, the kiss deepened into something hungry and desperate and real. All the tension that had been building between them exploded. Weeks of careful distance, of stolen glances and accidental touches, culminated in this moment. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Ethan rested his forehead against hers. This changes everything, he whispered. I know. Are you scared? Terrified? Me too. They stood like that, wrapped in each other, until reality began creeping back in. What they'd just done was dangerous, complicated, potentially devastating for everyone involved, but neither of them could bring themselves to regret it. I should go to bed, Naomi said finally, before we do something we can't take back. Haven't we already? Probably. She pulled away, even though it hurt. But Lily is upstairs, and we need to think about what this means, about what we're doing. Ethan nodded, though his eyes said he'd rather pull her back into his arms. You're right. Good night, Naomi. Good night. She walked away, her lips still tingling from his kiss, her heart racing with equal parts joy and terror. Everything had just changed, and she had no idea if that was wonderful or the beginning of the end. The next morning arrived with a problem Naomi hadn't anticipated. Her photo was everywhere. Not the hospital picture, something new. Someone had taken a picture of her and Ethan on the balcony at the gala. They were standing close, his hand on her back, their faces inches apart. The angle made it look even more intimate than it had been. The headline read, "Rhodes romance billionaire CEO and wife rekindle love after tragedy." Naomi's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Her sister, unknown numbers, even her boss from the preschool. She answered Tasha's call with shaking hands. "Please tell me that picture is photoshopped," her sister said without preamble. "It's not." "Naomi." Tasha's voice was tight with worry. "What is going on? You look at him like you're in love with him." "I don't know what I am." "That's not good enough. You need to get out of there. This whole thing is spinning out of control." "I can't leave. Lily needs me. Lily needs therapy and time, not you pretending to be her dead mother." The words hit hard because they were true, but before Naomi could respond, someone knocked on her bedroom door. "I have to go," she told Tasha. "We're not done talking about this." The line went dead. Naomi opened the door to find Grace, her expression apologetic. "Your old boss called the house line. He wants to speak with you urgently." Naomi's stomach dropped. "Did he say what about?" "He mentioned the photos and concerns from parents." Of course, parents wouldn't want their children taught by someone involved in a public scandal. It didn't matter that the scandal wasn't real. Perception was everything. She called David Morrison, the preschool director, with her heart in her throat. "Naomi," he said, his voice strained, "I'm going to be direct. We've received several calls from concerned parents. They're worried about your situation." "My situation?" "Your relationship with Ethan Rhodes, the publicity, the fact that you're living with him. It raises questions about your judgment." "I'm helping his daughter recover from trauma," Naomi said, trying to keep her voice steady. "There's nothing inappropriate happening." Even as she said it, she thought about last night's kiss. The lie tasted bitter. "Regardless, the board feels it's best if you take a leave of absence, unpaid, until this media attention dies down." "Are you suspending me?" "We're asking you to step away temporarily, for the good of the school." Naomi closed her eyes. "How long?" "That depends on you. When you're ready to return to your normal life, let us know. But right now, you're a liability." The word stung. Liability. Like she was something dangerous, something to be managed and contained. "Fine," she said quietly. "I'll take the leave. Thank you for understanding." She hung up and sat on her bed, staring at nothing. In the span of 3 weeks, her entire life had been turned upside down. She'd lost her job, her privacy, and her heart to a man she had no business loving. And the worst part? She still didn't want to leave. Ethan found out about the suspension within an hour. He stormed into the house during his lunch break, furious. "This is my fault," he said, pacing in his study while Naomi sat on the couch. "I'll fix it. I'll call your boss. Explain everything." "You can't fix this," Naomi interrupted. "This is the consequence of what we're doing. I knew it might happen. Then I'll compensate you. Double what you were making." "I don't want your money." She stood, frustrated. "Don't you understand? This isn't about money. It's about my career, my reputation, the life I had before I walked into that hospital." Ethan stopped pacing. "Do you regret it helping us?" Naomi wanted to say yes. It would be easier, but she couldn't lie. "No," she admitted. "I don't regret it. But that doesn't mean it isn't costing me everything." They stared at each other across the study. "What do you want from me?" Ethan asked quietly. "Tell me what I can do to make this right." "I don't know, She ran her hands through her hair. "I need time to think about what I'm doing, where this is going." "Are you leaving?" The panic in his voice made her chest ache. "No, not yet. I promised I'd help Lily, and I will, but we need to figure out what happens next, what we tell her, how we handle this. And us?" His eyes held hers. "What about what happened last night?" Naomi's lips still remembered his kiss. "I don't know. Maybe it was a mistake. It didn't feel like a mistake. Feelings aren't always right, but they're not always wrong either." Before she could respond, Lily's voice called from downstairs. "Mommy, where are you?" They both froze. "She's looking for me," Naomi said unnecessarily. "Yeah." They walked downstairs together, the conversation unfinished. Lily waited in the foyer, holding her backpack. "Can we go to the park?" she asked. "Please?" She looked so hopeful, so normal, that Naomi's heart clenched. This child had been through so much. She deserved happiness, stability, not two adults who didn't know what they were doing. "Of course we can, sweetheart." Lily beamed and ran to get her shoes. Ethan touched Naomi's arm gently. "We'll figure this out, I promise." She wanted to believe him, but promises felt fragile right now, like everything else in her borrowed life. The park was Lily's favorite place in the world. It sat on a hill overlooking the city, with tall trees that provided shade and a playground that always had other children. For Lily, it meant normalcy, a chance to be just another kid, not the traumatized daughter of a billionaire. Naomi pushed her on the swings while other mothers chatted nearby. Some of them recognized her now, whispered and pointed, but most were kind, offering smiles and small waves. They probably thought she was just another mom doing her best, if only they knew the truth. "Higher!" Lily called, her laughter ringing out. Naomi pushed harder, watching the little girl's blonde hair fly behind her like a banner. This was what mattered, these moments of pure joy, not the complications or the lies or the impossible feelings growing between her and Ethan, just this child, healing one smile at a time. After the swings, Lily ran to the sandbox to build castles with other kids. Naomi sat on a nearby bench, keeping watch. That's when a woman approached. Mid-30s, expensive yoga pants, designer sunglasses. "Excuse me," the woman said. "You're Naomi Carter, right? Ethan Rhodes's wife?" Naomi's stomach tightened. "Yes. I just wanted to say how brave you are, coming back after everything that happened. My sister went through something similar, lost her husband in an accident. It took her years to recover, but seeing you and your family, it gives people hope." The words were meant kindly, but they felt like knives. "Thank you," Naomi managed. The woman smiled and walked away, leaving Naomi to sit with her guilt. People were building narratives around her, creating stories of resilience and redemption, and every single one was based on a lie. Her phone buzzed. A text from Ethan. "Had to think about what you said. You're right, we need a plan. Can we talk tonight after Lily's asleep?" Naomi typed back, "Okay." She watched Lily playing, so carefree, and wondered how they'd ever untangle this mess without breaking her. That evening, after tucking Lily into bed with extra kisses and the usual bedtime story, Naomi found Ethan waiting in his study. He'd changed out of his suit into jeans and a simple t-shirt. It made him look younger, more approachable, more like the man who'd kissed her in the kitchen instead of the CEO who commanded boardrooms. "Hey," he said softly. "Hey." They sat together on the couch, a careful distance between them. The air felt heavy with everything unsaid. "I've been thinking," Ethan started, "about what you said earlier about needing a plan, and I think we should tell Lily the truth. Not all at once, but gradually. Start introducing the idea that you're not actually her biological mother, that you're someone who cares about her deeply but in a different way." Naomi's throat tightened. She's not ready for that. Maybe not. But the longer we wait, the harder it will be. He turned to face her fully. "And I don't want to keep lying to her, or to myself about what this is." "What is this, Ethan?" He reached for her hand, his touch tentative. "I don't know exactly. All I know is that you've become important to me, to both of us. And I'm tired of pretending that's just about Lily. We barely know each other. I know you wake up before dawn and watch the sunrise every morning. I know you hum when you're concentrating. I know you cut your sandwiches diagonally because it makes them taste better. I know you cry during sad movies but try to hide it. I know you have a scar on your left knee from falling off your bike when you were 8. He squeezed her hand gently. "Maybe I don't know your favorite color or what you studied in college, but I know the important things, the things that matter." Naomi's eyes burned with tears. "This is so complicated." "I know. Your wife died 6 months ago. You're still grieving. How do you know this is real and not just comfort, gratitude?" "Because I've thought about that," Ethan said quietly. "Every day I question what I'm feeling, whether it's real or just desperation. But then you smile at me over breakfast, or I hear you laughing with Lily, and I know. This isn't gratitude. It's something deeper. I lost my job because of this, my reputation, my normal life. I know, and I hate that. If I could take that back, you can't." Naomi pulled her hand away, needing clarity. "This is the reality. Being with you, being in this world comes with a cost, and I need to decide if I'm willing to pay it. What do you want me to say? I want you to tell me this is worth it, that we're not going to end up destroying each other, that when Lily finds out the truth, she won't hate both of us." Naomi's voice broke. "I want you to promise me something that neither of us can actually promise." Ethan stood and moved to the window, his shoulders tense. "I can't promise any of that. Life doesn't work that way, but I can promise that whatever happens, I'll be honest with you, I'll fight for you. and I'll do everything in my power to protect Lily through this. That's not enough. Then what is? Naomi didn't have an answer. She stood, suddenly exhausted. I need some air. Naomi. But she was already walking away out of the study, through the house, onto the terrace where she'd first talked with Grace about love and grief and houses that held too many ghosts. The ocean stretched before her, endless and dark. She could hear the waves crashing against the cliff below. It was the same ocean that had taken Clara, the same ocean that had given Lily nightmares for months. But it was also just water, just nature doing what nature does. Maybe that's what love was too, neither good nor bad, just a force that existed, indifferent to the damage it caused or the healing it brought. She heard footsteps behind her but didn't turn. I loved someone once, she said into the darkness. Marcus, I thought we'd get married, have kids, build a life. Then I lost the baby and he left. Just left. Like I wasn't worth staying for. Like my grief was too messy for him to handle. Ethan came to stand beside her, not touching but close. That's why you're scared, he said. It wasn't a question. I'm scared because I know what happens when you give someone your heart. They can crush it, walk away, leave you with nothing but questions and pain. She finally looked at him. I survived that once. I don't know if I can survive it again. I'm not Marcus. I know, but you're still capable of hurting me. Maybe more so because this time, she swallowed hard. This time it would hurt worse because it's not just you, it's Lily too. I'd be losing both of you. Ethan turned to face her fully. You want to know what scares me? That I'm betraying Clara, that I'm moving on too fast, that I'm being selfish, choosing my own happiness over what's appropriate or expected. His voice roughened. But then I remember what Clara used to say. She'd tell me that life is too short for regrets, that love is too precious to waste, and I think maybe she'd want this for me, for us, for Lily to have someone who loves her as fiercely as you do. You don't know that. You're right. I don't, but I have to believe it. Because the alternative is living in grief forever, and that's not living at all. They stood in the ocean breeze, both broken in different ways, both scared of what might happen if they took this leap. I need time, Naomi finally said, to think, to process. This is all happening so fast. How much time? I don't know. A few days, maybe a week. Ethan nodded, though his expression was pained. Okay, but Naomi, while you're thinking, remember something. What? You're already part of this family. Whether you stay or go, whether we become something more or just remain friends, you've already changed our lives. You've already left your mark. That's not nothing. He walked back inside, leaving her alone with the stars and the waves and a heart that didn't know which way to turn. The next few days were strange. Ethan gave her space like he'd promised, but the tension between them was palpable. They were polite at meals, careful not to touch. Their conversations stayed surface level, always aware of Lily listening, but their eyes told a different story. Every glance held questions. Every accidental touch sent electricity through Naomi's veins. Lily noticed something was off. She grew clingy, following Naomi everywhere, as if sensing the fragile nature of their situation. Are you sad, Mummy? She asked one afternoon while they painted. Naomi forced a smile. No, sweetheart, just tired. Daddy seems sad too. Does he? Lily nodded solemnly. He looks at you like he wants to say something but can't, out of the mouths of babes. Sometimes grown-ups have complicated feelings, Naomi said carefully, but that doesn't mean we're not happy. We just have things to figure out. Okay. Lily returned to her painting, another picture of the three of them, this time in front of their house. I'm glad you're here, Mommy. I don't want you to ever leave. The words pierced Naomi's heart. I'll be here as long as you need me, baby. But even as she said it, she wondered if that was a promise she could keep. On the 5th day of their careful dance around each other, everything changed. Naomi was in the garden with Lily when she heard shouting from inside the house. Male voices, angry and escalating. Stay here, she told Lily, then hurried inside. She found Ethan in the foyer confronting a man she'd never seen before. Late 30s, expensive suit, cruel smile. You need to leave, Ethan was saying, his voice deadly calm. I just want to talk to her, the man replied. That's not unreasonable. Marcus, Naomi's voice came out as a whisper. Both men turned. Her ex-boyfriend's eyes raked over her, taking in her casual clothes, her sun-kissed skin, the diamond bracelet Ethan had given her for the charity gala that she'd forgotten to take off. Well, well, Marcus said, his tone mocking. Looks like you traded up, from a teacher's salary to a billionaire's bank account. Smart move, Naomi. Get out, she said, finding her voice. I saw the pictures. You and Mr. Rhodes here, looking cozy at that fancy party. Thought I'd come see for myself if it was true. If my ex really hooked herself a rich man." Ethan stepped forward, his posture threatening. "I'm going to ask you one more time to leave. After that, I'm calling security." "Relax, man. I'm just here to congratulate her." Marcus's smile was ugly. "You know she lost our baby, right? Couldn't even hold on to a pregnancy. But I guess that doesn't matter when you're rich enough to buy yourself a ready-made family." The words were calculated to hurt, and they hit their mark. Naomi felt the blood drain from her face, but before she could respond, Ethan moved. One moment he was standing still, the next his fist connected with Marcus's jaw with a sickening crack. Marcus stumbled backward, hand to his face, shock replacing smugness. "I said leave," Ethan growled. "Don't ever come near her again. Don't call, don't text, don't even think about her, because if you do, I will destroy you. Is that clear?" Marcus wiped blood from his split lip, his eyes darting between them. Whatever he saw in Ethan's expression made him back toward the door. "This isn't over," he muttered. "Yes, it is," Naomi said firmly. "It's been over for 2 years. Go away, Marcus. Live your life, and let me live mine." He left, the door slamming behind him. The silence that followed was deafening. "Are you okay?" Ethan asked, turning to her. "You hit him." "I did." He flexed his hand, wincing. "Probably shouldn't have, but I'm not sorry." "You can't just—" Naomi stopped, because the truth was, she wasn't upset that he'd hit Marcus. She was upset that Marcus had found her, that her past had crashed into her present at the worst possible time, and she was upset that Ethan had just defended her like she was actually his, like she belonged to him. "Thank you," she finally said. "You don't have to thank me." "Yes, I do. What he said was cruel and wrong, and says everything about who he is and nothing about who you are." Ethan stepped closer. "I don't care about your past, Naomi. I care about right now, about the woman standing in front of me who is kind and brave and beautiful, even when she doesn't see it herself." Naomi's eyes filled with tears. "Ethan, I know you need time. I'm trying to give you space. But seeing him here, saying those things to you," his jaw clenched. "I can't be patient about this anymore. I can't pretend I'm okay with just being your employer, or Lily's father, or whatever safe label we're hiding behind." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I'm in love with you." The words hung in the air like fireworks, beautiful and terrifying and impossible to take back. "You can't be," Naomi whispered. "Why not?" "Because it's too soon. Because we're still lying to your daughter. Because I'm a mess and you're grieving and this is all so complicated." "I don't care." He closed the distance between them. "I don't care that it's complicated. I don't care that the timing is wrong. I love you, Naomi, and I think you love me too." She did. God help her, she did. But before she could say the words, Lily's voice cut through the moment. "Mommy, why are you crying?" They both turned to find the little girl standing in the doorway from the garden, her eyes wide with concern. Naomi quickly wiped her tears. "I'm okay, sweetheart. Just had a visitor who wasn't very nice." "The angry man? You saw him?" Ethan asked, his voice tight with worry. Lily nodded. "Through the window. He was mean to Mommy. I'm glad he left." She ran to Naomi, wrapping her small arms around her waist. "Don't be sad, I'll protect you." The words were so earnest, so pure, that Naomi almost broke down completely. She knelt to Lily's level. "You know what? You're pretty brave, Lily Rhodes." "Like you," Lily said simply. Naomi glanced up at Ethan, who was watching them with an expression so full of love it made her chest ache. Maybe Grace was right. Maybe this house did make people fall in love too easily. Or maybe, just maybe, some things were meant to be, complications and all. That night, after another bedtime story and extra cuddles for Lily, Naomi found Ethan on the terrace where they'd had so many important conversations. "Hi," she said softly. He turned, surprise flickering across his face. "Hi. I thought you'd want space after everything today." "I did. I do." She moved to stand beside him at the railing. "But I also need to say something." "Okay." Naomi took a deep breath. "You were right about what you said earlier, about me loving you." His breath caught. "Naomi, let me finish," she interrupted gently. "I do love you. I think I started falling for you that first night, watching you with Lily. Seeing how much you loved her, how broken you were, how desperately you wanted to save her." She turned to face him. "But loving you scares me, because I don't know how to do this. How to love a man who's still grieving his wife. How to mother a child who isn't mine. How to exist in a world where I'll always be judged and questioned and doubted. I know it's not fair, But maybe that's okay, she continued. Maybe nothing about love is fair or easy or simple. Maybe it's supposed to be messy and complicated and scary. Maybe that's what makes it real. Ethan reached for her hand, lacing their fingers together. What are you saying? I'm saying I want to try, really try. Not just for Lily, for us. She met his eyes. But we need to do this right. We need to tell Lily the truth, gently, carefully, but honestly. And we need to be prepared for whatever comes after. She might be angry, probably. She might feel betrayed, almost certainly. But we'll get through it, Ethan said firmly. Together, together, Naomi echoed. He pulled her into his arms, and for the first time since this all began, Naomi let herself relax completely. Let herself believe that maybe, despite everything, this could work. I love you, she whispered against his chest. I love you too. He tilted her face up, his thumb brushing across her cheek. Can I kiss you? She answered by rising on her toes and pressing her lips to his. The kiss was different from the desperate one in the kitchen. This was slow, deliberate, a promise rather than a question. When they finally pulled apart, both smiling, Naomi felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. They told Lily 2 days later, on a Sunday afternoon at the beach. They'd planned it carefully, picked a place where she felt safe, made sure she'd had a good day, brought her favorite snacks. But nothing really prepared them for the conversation. They sat on a blanket, Lily between them, building sandcastles and laughing. Then Ethan gently broached the subject. Lilybug, Naomi and I need to talk to you about something important. The little girl looked up, immediately sensing the shift in tone. Okay, Naomi took her hand. You know how much we both love you, right? Yes. Good, because that's never going to change, no matter what we tell you. Lily's expression grew wary. What's wrong? Ethan moved closer. Nothing's wrong, sweetheart, but we haven't been completely honest with you about something and we need to fix that. About what? Naomi's heart pounded. About me. About who I am. You're my mommy. The words were said with such certainty that Naomi almost couldn't continue. But she had to, for Lily's sake. I love you like a mother loves a daughter, she said carefully, and I want to take care of you and protect you and help you grow up. But I'm not your biological mother, sweetie. Your real mother, the one who gave birth to you, was Clara, and she loved you so, so much. Lily's face crumpled with confusion. But you came back, at the hospital. You sang to me. I know. And that was real. My care for you, my love for you. That's all real. But I didn't come back. I came for the first time. I'm someone new in your life, someone who wants to be part of your family, if you'll let me. Tears started streaming down Lily's cheeks. You're not my mommy, not the mommy who was there when you were born, but I can be someone else, someone important, someone who loves you just as much. Why did you lie? The question was asked with heartbreaking innocence. Ethan spoke then, his voice thick with emotion. That's my fault, Lily. You were so sad when we met Naomi, so scared. And when you called her mommy and it made you feel better, I asked her to pretend. I asked her to help you heal. That was wrong of me, and I'm so sorry. Lily was crying harder now, her small body shaking. I want my real mommy. I want her to come back. Naomi gathered her close, holding her while she sobbed. I know, baby. I know you do. And it's okay to miss her. It's okay to be sad and angry. I hate you. Lily pushed away from Naomi. You lied to me. Both of you lied. The words cut deep, but Naomi didn't flinch. You're right, we did, and you have every right to be angry. Lily ran down the beach, not far, just enough to put distance between them. She collapsed in the sand, crying into her knees. Ethan started to go after her, but Naomi stopped him. Give her a minute. Let her feel what she's feeling. This is killing me, he said, his voice breaking. I know. Me too. They watched Lily cry, both of them helpless to do anything but be there when she was ready. After what felt like an eternity, the little girl's sobs quieted. She sat staring at the ocean, her shoulders still shaking occasionally. Naomi approached slowly, sitting beside her in the sand, but not touching. Can I tell you a story? Lily didn't respond, but she didn't run away either. Once upon a time, Naomi began, there was a little girl who lost both her parents. She was so sad, so angry at the world. She didn't think she'd ever be happy again. But then her big sister took care of her. And slowly, very slowly, she learned that love comes in different forms. That family isn't just about blood. It's about who shows up, who stays, who loves you even when you're angry or sad or difficult. She paused. That little girl was me, Lily. And my sister Tasha, she saved me. Not by pretending to be my mom, but by just being there, by loving me through the hard stuff. Lily turned slightly, listening now. I can't be your mom, Naomi continued. Nobody can replace Clara. But I can be someone who loves you, someone who wants to help you heal, someone who thinks you're brave and special and worth fighting for. She finally looked at Lily. If you'll let me. For a long moment, Lily said nothing. Then, in a small voice, you really love me. So much it scares me. Even though I said I hate you. Even then, love doesn't disappear just because someone's angry. Lily was quiet again. Then she asked, can I call you Naomi instead of Mommy? The question hurt, but it was fair. Of course. And you'll still live with us? If you want me to. Lily thought about this. Finally, she nodded. Okay, but no more lying. No more lying, Naomi promised. Lily stood and walked back to Ethan, who immediately pulled her into his arms. I'm sorry, Daddy. You have nothing to be sorry for, Lilybug. We're the ones who messed up. Are you and Naomi going to get married for real? Both adults froze. We care about each other very much, Ethan said carefully, but we're taking things slow, making sure we do this right. Okay. Lily seemed to accept this. Then she looked at Naomi. I'm still mad at you. That's fair. But I don't want you to leave. I won't. Not unless you want me to. Lily nodded, then surprised them both by walking over and taking Naomi's hand. Can we finish our sandcastle now? Just like that. The worst was over. Not completely. There would be more conversations, more tears, more healing needed, but the truth was out, and they were still together. Still a family, even if the shape of it was different than before. The following weeks were an adjustment. Lily had good days and bad days. Sometimes she'd climb into Naomi's bed in the morning like always. Other times she'd keep her distance, processing her feelings. She talked to a therapist, a real one, not just Naomi's informal art therapy, and slowly began working through her trauma. She started calling Naomi by her first name instead of Mommy, which hurt every time but felt honest. The media eventually found out the truth too. Andrew orchestrated a careful press release explaining that Naomi was a family friend helping with Lily's recovery. Some outlets were kind about it, others weren't. But gradually, the attention faded. The other stories took precedence. Life moved on. Naomi got her job back at the preschool, though she negotiated for a part-time position so she could still spend time with Lily. The parents who'd been concerned saw how happy and healthy Lily was becoming and softened their judgment. Tasha eventually came around too, after seeing Naomi and Ethan together, really seeing the way they looked at each other, the way they navigated difficulties as a team. Okay, her sister admitted one evening. I was wrong. He's not using you, and you're not being stupid. You're just in love. Yeah, Naomi agreed with a smile. I really am. 6 months after that first hospital visit, Ethan took Naomi back to the beach where they'd told Lily the truth. Why are we here? She asked. Because this is where we became real, he said, where we stopped pretending and started being honest. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Naomi's breath caught. Ethan, I know this is complicated, he said, opening the box to reveal a simple, elegant ring. I know people will judge and question and probably say we're moving too fast, but I don't care about any of that. I care about you, about us, about building a real family with you and Lily. Tears streamed down Naomi's face. This isn't about contracts or pretending or temporary arrangements, Ethan continued. This is me asking you to be my wife, for real, forever. Will you marry me, Naomi Carter? She could barely speak through her tears. Yes, yes, of course, yes. He slipped the ring on her finger and kissed her while the waves crashed behind them and the sun painted the sky in shades of gold and pink. When they finally pulled apart, both laughing and crying, Naomi saw movement up the beach. Lily stood there with Grace, both of them smiling and waving. Did you know about this? Naomi called to Lily. The little girl ran over, beaming. Daddy asked me first. He said he wanted to make sure I was okay with it. And are you? Naomi asked, kneeling to Lily's level. Lily pretended to think about it. Then she grinned. Yeah, I think you should marry my dad. Then you'll be my real family. Not my mom, that's different, but my family, is that okay? That's more than okay, sweetheart. Lily threw her arms around Naomi's neck. I love you, Naomi. I love you too, Lily. Ethan joined the embrace, wrapping both of them in his arms, and for the first time since Clara's death, his family felt whole again. Different, changed, but whole. The wedding was small and intimate, held on the cliffs behind Ethan's house exactly 1 year after Naomi had first walked into that hospital hallway. Grace officiated, reading words about love and healing and the unexpected paths that lead us home. Tasha stood as Naomi's maid of honor, crying happy tears throughout the ceremony. Lily was the flower girl, taking her job very seriously and scattering petals with focused determination. Only close friends and family attended. No press, no cameras, just people who loved them and wanted to celebrate their happiness. When it came time for vows, Ethan spoke first. "Naomi, you came into our lives when we were broken, when I didn't think we'd ever be whole again. You could have walked away so many times, should have walked away, but you stayed. You fought for us. You loved us when we were unlovable. You saved my daughter's smile and my heart." His voice cracked. "I promise to honor you every day, to protect you, to love you with everything I have, to build a life with you that's honest and real and full of laughter." Naomi wiped away tears before speaking. "Ethan, I didn't plan to fall in love with you. I didn't plan for any of this, but the best things in life are unplanned. You taught me that it's okay to be scared and brave at the same time. That love is worth the risk. That family is something you build, not something you're born into." She glanced at Lily. "You and Lily gave me a reason to believe in happy endings again, and I promise to spend the rest of my life proving that I'm worthy of that gift." They exchanged rings, simple gold bands that caught the sunlight. "I now pronounce you husband and wife," Grace said with a huge smile. "You may kiss your bride." Ethan pulled Naomi close and kissed her as their small gathering erupted in applause and cheers. When they finally pulled apart, Lily was there, tugging on Naomi's dress. "Can I have a hug too?" "Always," Naomi said, scooping her up. The three of them stood together on the cliff overlooking the ocean. A father, a wife, and a daughter, learning what it meant to be a family. Not the family they'd planned, not the family they'd expected, but theirs, real and imperfect and absolutely right. 2 years later, Naomi stood in the nursery they'd painted together. Walls covered in that mosaic of shells they'd started at the beach, now expanded and beautiful. She rocked gently, humming that same lullaby she'd sung to Lily in the hospital, while the baby in her arms drifted off to sleep. Ethan appeared in the doorway, Lily beside him. She was 9 now, taller and more confident, but still their sweet girl. "Is he asleep?" Lily whispered. "Just barely," Naomi whispered back. They tiptoed over, all three of them looking down at the baby boy who joined their family 6 weeks ago. "He has your nose," Lily said to Ethan. "Poor kid," Ethan joked. Naomi smiled. "I think it's a perfect nose." They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the baby sleep. On the wall above his crib, they'd hung a picture that Lily had drawn years ago. 3 people holding hands under a bright sun, with the words, "Our family," written at the top. It had started as a lie, a desperate fiction to help a traumatized child heal, but somehow through honesty and courage and love that refused to quit, it had become the truest thing in all their lives. "You know what today is?" Ethan asked softly. 3 years since the hospital," Naomi said. "Since the 1 hour that changed everything." Lily looked up at them. "Best hour ever." Naomi met Ethan's eyes across their sleeping son, and in that look was everything they'd been through. Every lie that became truth, every fear that became courage, every broken piece that had been carefully, lovingly put back together. "Best hour ever," Naomi agreed. She thought about that scared woman who'd rushed into a hospital 3 years ago, just trying to make it to her volunteer shift on time. That woman couldn't have imagined this life, this love, this family, this overwhelming joy. But maybe that was the point. Maybe the best things in life are the ones we never see coming. The unexpected moments that redirect our entire path. 1 hour of compassion had led to a lifetime of love. And that, Naomi thought as she looked at her husband, her daughter, and her son, was the greatest gift she'd ever received. Not the mansion, or the wealth, or the fancy parties. Just this. Just them, just love, in all its messy, complicated, absolutely perfect glory. Outside, the ocean continued its eternal rhythm, waves rising and falling, constant and unchanging. But inside the house on the cliff, everything had changed. Laughter echoed through rooms that had once held only grief. Joy lived in corners that had known only sorrow. And love, real, honest, hard-won love, filled every space. Grace walked past the nursery, saw them all crowded together and smiled. "This house finally sounds alive again," she murmured to herself. She'd been right all those years ago. The house did make people fall in love too easily. But sometimes easy love was exactly what broken hearts needed. Sometimes 1 hour of courage was enough to build a lifetime of happiness, and sometimes, just sometimes, the impossible became possible when people were brave enough to try. The end.